Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. Please, let's call this meeting to order, and please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And we'll begin today with public audience. Is there anyone who would like to speak? Sarah.
I'm going to be brief. I'd like to say that I'd like to start by saying that I'm thrilled that we're here today. It's
I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Sarah
Sarah
Nielsen,
Nielsen, Main Street Partnership. Thank
Simsbury
you.
Main Street Partnership. That's right, we have callers. I really enjoyed, I had been kind of tasked with helping to oversee the Ensign Bickford Aerospace and Defense Project late last year. And it started out with a meeting that Chad and I both convened with the parties, the town, our state rep, our state senator, as well as the Department of Economic and Community Development. Just a couple of things that you're already aware of, but also to remind the public. This, we feel, is very critical for economic development. It's a $14 million, and I know that, again, some of that $6 million can't be counted, but I want to remind people this is a $14 million investment, or potential investment, by our largest employer, one of our largest employers, and our oldest employer. It's also 140 new high-paying jobs. There's some information that we were able to share with the Department of Economic and Community Development because of proprietary reasons that we couldn't share with the town. But this really is incredible in that we're competing against two other states. And we've been working on, very slowly with the state on some of their packages and programming, and it looks like they're continuing to come back and hopefully sweeten the deal as we go. But this is critical, as the state is facing more uncertainty with what they're doing, both fiscally and financially, with what programs they're doing, with how they're approaching economic development from their end, it's going to become critical for small towns like Simsbury to really react. We're going to become the drivers of our own future, and we're going to be able to say, regardless of what the state's doing, this is what Simsbury wants to do. And Simsbury's priority, I think, has been in keeping a great company like Ensign Bickford Aerospace and Defense. We're talking about a state-of-the-art facility that would be located in Connecticut and located in Simsbury. So I just, I want to thank the Board of Selectmen. I think that, especially Maria and her team have been amazing, a little bit exhausted, I think, but, really quick to respond with all of these requests and actually much quicker than the state, I can say that. But I just want to make sure that we're doing as much as possible. You're not talking about losing any taxes, in the upcoming years. We're talking about the net new gain. So I want to really keep in mind to make sure that we're doing as competitive a package as we possibly can. It's not just the new growth through all of the new families that might be purchasing in Simsbury. It's not just including the density, it's not the economic multipliers, but it's also making sure that we sustain the 265 current employees that are in Simsbury. And that we show that this could be something sustainable for the next, 20 to 50 years. I mean, this could be an explosion of what's really happening in the market. They're well poised to do that, and I think that the town should be supporting them as much as we possibly can. We've helped shepherd them through the entire process, but it doesn't end today. Quite frankly, I'd like to see phases 2 and 3, or whatever phases you guys end up with, but the subsequent phases also be in Simsbury as well. So I urge you really to do as competitive a package as you possibly can to support this. I think it's very, very important. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. I should have also mentioned that we have two selectmen who are on the phone today, Chris Peterson and Sean Askham. Anybody else for public audience? Yes, Dave.
No sign. My name is Dave Balboni, and I've lived in Simsbury for 62, 63 years. And I think this is a great project for the town. I worked for Ensign Bickford, just a little background, for over 40 years, came when the town had about 4,800 people here. Now we're about 24,000. I think this is a good project for the town. I do think the amount of money that the town is going to put in, and I understand it's future tax rebate monies, and obviously all the work has to be done, and then the town just gives them a little leeway on that. I just think it's too much, and the people in town should not be supporting all of that money. So having said all that, I'll be glad to answer any questions if you want to ask me anything. But I would say that this vote should be put on hold and then reevaluated in terms of the amount of what the tax rebate's going to be. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak in public audience? Yeah.
I'm Dave Ryan, 20 West Ledge Road. I served in the Business Development Committee that made the recommendation for this incentive package. And I'd like to point out that it is a percentage of prospective taxes that we would collect. There's no money being spent out of pocket in advance, and that the personal property tax that will come along with the new hires is far greater than the tax benefit that we're giving in the real estate area. So I think it's a very, very good package, and we really want to do this to keep Ensign Bickford growing here and building new things in Simsbury.
Thanks, Dave. Anybody else? Okay, thank you. So we'll move on now to Selectmen actions, and our only item on the agenda is considering the business development incentive application for 632 Hot Meadow Street, which is Ensign Bickford. Mike?
Eric, I'm going to recuse myself. I have a business relationship with Ensign Bickford Aerospace, and it'll be a conflict of interest, but I will step aside.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Thanks. And Selectwoman Cheryl Cook is also recusing herself from this vote. So just a little bit of context, the town's business development incentive policy allows the Board of Selectmen to forgive up to 50% of building permit fees and up to 100% of taxes for up to 10 years for businesses that meet the criteria of the policy. The town received Ensign Bickford's application, I believe, at the beginning of April, which was about a month ago, and then the Business Development Incentive Committee met on two separate occasions, a week apart, to consider the request. Ensign Bickford is considering making, in Phase 1, an investment in excess of $10 million in its Simsbury location, adding 140 jobs in the process, which is an increase of about 35% of its over its current workforce. The recommendation from the Business Development Incentive Committee is to waive 50% of the permit fees, not to exceed $25,000, and a 10-year tax abatement on the incremental tax revenue. That's additional tax revenue expected from this project. And the recommendation from the committee is 100% abatement over the first 2 years, 95% in the third year, 90% in the fourth year, 85% in the fifth year, and then it would be 75% for the remaining years. Again, this is on new growth and has no impact on the current taxes that the company pays the town. Our assessor estimates that the size of the abatement over 10 years will be about $375,000. The additional tax revenue we receive as a result of the project would be about $241,000 based on today's estimates. I'll open it up from comments and questions from the board. I'd like to just begin by sharing why I'm supportive of this proposal as the Board of Selectmen's representative on the Business Development Incentive Committee. First, I think it's echoing in part some of the things that other people have said in public audience. When we think about the kinds of businesses that we want to encourage to either move here or to expand, I think that this project is a fantastic fit. We're talking about not just 140 jobs, but 140 good-paying jobs in high-tech manufacturing. These are 140 people who will be working in our community, patronizing local businesses, and It's estimated that about a third of those new employees would choose to locate in Simsbury, providing a boost to the housing market. And these are benefits that are impossible to quantify with specificity, but are also, I think, really important to acknowledge. Lastly, I just wanted to say, I don't take giving tax abatements lightly, and I think that there's a lot of solid research out there that tax abatements, in many cases, aren't the driving factor in the business decision. But a test that I like to use personally when considering the size of an abatement is a 1-to-5 ratio. So for every dollar that the town is investing, the private sector is investing at least $5. And when you look at this project, the ratio is closer to 1 in 30. In addition, Ensign Bickford has agreed to hire a local contractor and subcontractors as part of the project, so there are ripple effects for our local economy. So it's for those reasons why I'm supportive of the recommendation that's in your packet. I wanted to open it up for questions and other comments from board members.
I guess that would be me.
And a couple people on the phone.
Right. I don't know, I'll let Sean and Chris speak first if they want to, and then I'll speak if.
Sean, Chris, is there anything you'd like to ask or add?
I mean, Eric, I think this is Sean. I think you stated it exceptionally well. I'll remind the board that we supported over $500,000 in tax abatements for an historical structure with very limited job creation, but it was an important structure for our community. This amount is potentially less, I think, with far more impact on the upside from a future taxes and from an economic standpoint. So I am very much in supportive of this project at the amount recommended. So,
Thanks, Sean. Chris?
Hey, folks. Good morning. It's Chris. Everything's so well said so far, Eric. Sean, I hope and I believe that on this one the board is in lockstep. I truly believe that one of our underlying themes of the work that we've been doing as a group is economic development. You have so few of these opportunities, seemingly. This is one that has, I believe, the right components, and it could have ripple effects, not for the 10 years down the road, but 100 years down the road as it shapes and forms itself as additive to our town and our community. And I think as a whole, as we think about ourselves as a community in the state, we constantly are knocked as a state, whether true or false, relative to our business-friendly climate or not. And it's so rare, and it's more often that we're talking about a conversation of job loss. This is an opportunity for us to be at the forefront of job creation. That is a conversation that is never in the papers, never in the media, and it's truly a pivotal point for us. And I applaud all those stakeholders in that room, behind the scenes, and everywhere for bending their minds around how to make this done. And I'm confident we're going to get it right. And again, I think not 10 years down the road, but 100 years down the road, the financial impact that this kind of project could have for the benefit of our town.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, so, for me, I don't think I could articulate better than Sarah did the advantages and value of both this initiative with Ensign Bickford as well as the proposal. I think Dave made a great point. We're talking about opportunity costs here more than actual costs. So I'm just going to quickly say three things. One is this is just an incredibly impressive package that we have in front of us, and I can see the quality of the work that's been done by so many people. Ensign Bickford, town staff, the Business Incentive Committee. This is truly, to me, first-class work. So it's very easy to support this, given the documentation we have. That's the first thing. The second thing is, as someone who has lived in Simsbury most of my life, and like Dave makes reference to, I have a tremendous appreciation for what Ensign Bickford means to Simsbury and the partnership it's had with the town. It truly has always epitomized what a business that's part of a community and committed to a community is. And I remember being on the Board of Selectmen in the 90s, where sometimes we just called Ensign Bickford up and said, can you donate some money for this? And they always were very supportive of it. So for Ensign Bickford to want to continue to partnership with us
on something this exciting is something I just want to say thank you to Ensign Bickford for. The third thing is there's not a single person that debates that this project is worthy and this project is worthy of a tax incentive. The only debate that exists is whether it's the right amount. The only criticism that exists is that it's possibly too much. So when I look at that, we basically had 8 scenarios that was looked at by the Business Incentive Committee. The lowest was $204,000 gross. The highest was $442,000. This is coming in at basically about $375,000. It's not the highest that was looked at. It's not the lowest. The absolute annual difference over 10 years between the lowest and the highest, $23,300 a year. This difference between this and the lowest is approximately $17,000 a year. Those are such negligible amounts that I really don't worry about it because this incentive is within the guidelines that exist with the policy. As I said about the package, extremely well thought out. And a point that Sarah made is we do live in a world where we have to convey to our partners that we are aggressive in wanting them to partner with us. It's just the reality. So a more aggressive versus less aggressive within these timeframes is something, or with these values, is something that I can very easily support. So I'm completely supportive of this. If you need a motion, Eric, I'm ready to make one if you need someone to make that.
Sure, thank you, Chris. Just before we do that, are there any other questions from board members? Okay, a motion, please.
Okay, so I move.
No, sir, let's do this.
So I move effective May 10th, 2019 to approve a 10-year tax abatement at the percentages presented below for Ensign Bickford Aerospace and Defense for the property located at 640 Hot Meadow Street. 100% reduction in the tax bill for year 1, fiscal year 21-22. 100% reduction in the tax bill for year 2, fiscal year 22-23. 95% reduction in the tax bill for year 3, fiscal year 23-24. 90% reduction in the tax bill for year 4, fiscal year 24-25. 85% reduction in the tax bill for year 5, fiscal year 25-26. 75% reduction in the tax bill for year 6, fiscal year 26-27. 75% reduction in the tax bill for year 7, fiscal year 27-28. 75% reduction in the tax bill for year 8, fiscal year 28-29. 75% reduction in the tax bill for year 9, fiscal year 29-30. And 75% reduction in the tax bill for year 10, fiscal year 30-31.
And a few additional.
Oh.
Thank you.
The abatement and reduction in the tax bill should only apply to the real estate new growth. Further move to waive 50% of the cost of the construction, HVAC equipment, plumbing, electrical, fire, sprinkler, and demolition permit fees incurred for Phase 1 of the project expansion, not to exceed $25,000. Further move to authorize the town manager and town attorney to negotiate an agreement reflective of this resolution.
I will second that. Any further conversation? Just want to add that this will be coming back to the Board of Selectmen once a proposed agreement is reached. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. I want to, again, just echo what Chris said and appreciate Ensign Bickford's consideration of Simsbury for Phase 1 and hopefully future phases of this investment, and also wanted to acknowledge the work that Sarah Nielsen did on behalf of the Simsbury Main Street Partnership to help shepherd this process. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved.
Is there a second on the phone?
Second.
All in favor?
Second.
Aye.
Aye.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thanks,
of
everyone. Have a
course.
great day.
Oh, hang on, Chris
Take
and
care.
John.
Thank you.
Guys, if you can stay on the phone one moment, Chad just wants to say a few
Oh,
words.
come on. We just adjourned.
Public audience section, I wasn't sure what to say this, but I just wanted to extend an appreciation on behalf of Ensign Bickford. We've been in this town for over 180 years, and started out with safety cord, and it's really evolved and progressed over several decades. This is going to add a lot of new high-tech, high-paying jobs in the foreseeable future. Thank you for your time. I know there were several special sessions that were put together. Thank you, Maria, for your work on this, and especially Sarah Nielsen. I appreciate her work on this. And we appreciate your commitment to Ensign Bickford, and we plan to reciprocate that as well and commit to Simsbury.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Have a great day, everybody.
Bye, thank you.